So we'll try and understand, all the concepts of TypeScript,
Sure.
right? We'll try to cover all the concepts. Now, first of all, what is TypeScript to start with? See, TypeScript is simply called as a superset of JavaScript. You know,
Hmm.
uh, a more loaded version of JavaScript. Basically, it has all the features of JavaScript, plus it has some, you know, a complete programming language like features, which we'll talk about, right?
Okay.
But it offers one major thing, one major feature, right? Which is, see, what was the problem with JavaScript? The problem with JavaScript was it was called as a dynamically typed language, or it was called as a dynamically typed, a sloppy kind of a language. Now, why was JavaScript called that? A dynamically typed
Hmm.
sloppy language. Basically, you know, so it was not mandatory to declare the type upfront, right?
Hmm.
So, based on the data, the interpreter used to find the data type,
Yeah.
right? So what TypeScript has given? TypeScript has given something called as static typing. Basically, we
Hmm.
have to mention the type then and there, right?
Hmm.
So because of this, runtime issues does not come, right?
Okay.
This is one of the major thing, about TypeScript, which because of which, and apart from other features also, frameworks like React, or a popular framework like Angular, they all are written using TypeScript because of,
Hmm.
majorly because of this. But yes, there are of course other features also which we'll talk about, right? It
Okay.
gives us.
So, one question: do I need to know the JavaScript before we start with? Because I don't have any background on the JavaScript.
Yes, so as I said, TypeScript has all the concepts of JavaScript also. So we have to know that also. But don't worry, I'll
Hmm.
include that also. That you know, I'll include the concepts of JavaScript, because TypeScript is not something new. As I told you, it's a superset of JavaScript. So it includes
Hmm.
all concepts of JavaScript also. Plus, it has
Hmm.
some additional features, right?
Okay.
So we need to know that.
Hmm.
Now, you know, so as I told you, JavaScript has some, like I told you, dynamically typed language. TypeScript has given a
Hmm.
static typing, right? Along with some other
Hmm.
features, which makes it a very maintainable, very scalable, very robust kind of a language, which we'll see.
Hmm.
Now, who has given TypeScript? Who is the company behind? Like, if Java is owned by Oracle, if React is
Yeah.
owned by, Facebook, right? And so, who owns TypeScript? See, TypeScript is a programming language. First of all, it is an open source programming language like Java, right? All its source code exists online. It's an open source programming
Hmm.
language. Now, who owns TypeScript? Who manages TypeScript? Microsoft. It is developed and
Okay.
maintained by Microsoft,
Hmm.
right? So that we should know that TypeScript is a Microsoft language.
Okay.
Okay, so these are the two things one should know, that TypeScript has basically given us something called as static typing, or you can say no dynamic typing. Everything is then written then there itself what type the data belongs to,
Okay.
right? And TypeScript is the byproduct of Microsoft.
Hmm.
Okay, now these are the two
Yeah.
things. Now what we are going to do, we are going to write JavaScript or TypeScript code as part of Visual Studio. So
Hmm.
if you don't have Visual Studio 2022, or if you don't have 2019 version, then you can um, you can download it.
Yeah.
Okay, I can tell you from where to download. You can simply type free download, Visual Studio 2022, and you will get this link. Install on Windows or install on Mac or install on
Hmm.
Ubuntu Linux.
Yeah.
Okay, so once
Hmm.
you have this, if you find any problem, you can let me know. I'll tell you. If you have this, what I'll do, I'll just create one project. For example, I'll just say open folder, right? I'll just say, let's say in my downloads, I'll just, or in my desktop, I'll create one folder called as, let's say, you know, TS concepts, you know, let's say TS concepts batch. So I'll select this folder. If this folder does not exist, just a second. So I'll just cut and I'll, create a new folder from here also. And I can give a folder name as TS concepts batch, and I can select this folder and Visual Studio will open that.
Hmm.
Solution Explorer, if you don't get Solution Explorer, view, and we have terminal here, and we have Solution Explorer here, so it will open
Hmm.
the directory.
Yeah.
We'll create our first file, right?
Hmm.
Just to understand how TS codes looks like and how it executes, basically how we need to execute
Hmm.
TS file. So I'm just writing, um, I can create a file with the name called as, let's say, you know first TS file or basic TS file. I can call it as, okay, let's call it as a basic TS file, basic TS code dot TS. I named this file as basic underscore TS dot TypeScript file. Now, let's say you could not able to get this Visual Studio thing, then all your code you can execute here also. There is one open source editor, typescriptlang.org. If you type
Hmm.
this is a Google provided TypeScript editor, right?
Hmm.
So it says online or via npm. Npm stands for Node Package Manager. And
Hmm.
you know so if you click this, you can run this in the browser via Playground. This is a third party tool, or you can download directly on your this entire editor on your computer also, right? You can do
Okay.
this also. Otherwise, you know if this is terminal, this is terminal, so
Hmm.
I can let's say clear cls command to clear. I can cd dot dot to come back. I can go to desktop. On my desktop, you can see in the Lenovo I have OneDrive. In OneDrive I have desktop. In desktop I just created a file called ts concepts batch. Now I am in my location, right?
Hmm.
Now you need to have the node version. Node hyphen v will give you the node version. And if you don't have node, then of course you need to download node also, without which TypeScript code won't work. So node.org will help you download node. You know, um just a second. Nodejs.org. You get this page, huh? So you can download the latest
Hmm.
stable version from here.
Hmm.
Okay. So as I told you, you need Node, you need Visual Studio, or you can use the TypeScript lang.org. But it is better if you download this. It will help you save your code. If you find any problem, you can share the same with me. Right.
Yeah.
Now, let's write one simple, script. Now in JavaScript, you can create variables in three ways, right? Variables are there are three ways in which you can declare variable, right?
Hmm.
Variables or simple data you can declare variables can be declared in total three ways, right? Which is,
Hmm.
var keyword, let keyword, and const keyword. So I use let here.
Okay.
I'll tell you the difference
Hmm.
between these three, when to use which one. But there are only three ways in which you can declare your, variable to use in your code. For example, here I'm simply saying a message variable which is of string type, and the data for the message variable is that, this is my TypeScript, this is my TypeScript, or I can simply type, let's say, hello TypeScript. I can put like this. I can give exclamation mark, semicolon to end, right? And on the console, if you want to print, like in other languages you have system out println, you have print function. In JavaScript, TypeScript, you have
Hmm.
this console log to print output in developer
Okay.
tool, in console, print the,
Hmm.
data or values or any statement on console, you know so I just wrote two statements, but I showed you the concept of static typing here. I specifically mentioned
Hmm.
that message is a string type data, and I mentioned the
Yeah.
value also. Now, you know, if I need to run this to print this hello TypeScript, what I need to
Hmm.
do, I need to first compile this using TSC, TS compiler, TypeScript compiler, and I need to provide this file name TSC, and it will give me the JS file because Node cannot run the TS file directly till date. So I use
Hmm.
TSC to compile the file, and you can see that a JS file automatically got created. I did not create it. After running TSC, JS file got
Hmm.
created, and after that I wrote
Hmm.
this node basic ts JS, and it wrote me this message hello TypeScript, which I wrote here. And if you open the JS
Hmm.
file, it put use strict also. If you open the JS file, you know it has like
Hmm.
this. This is how JavaScript used to look like, right?
Hmm.
And we wrote a TypeScript file.
Yeah.
So TypeScript is nothing but a superset of JavaScript, maintained and developed by Microsoft. Open source language, offers static typing and other
Hmm.
features which we'll talk about, right? So
Okay.
this is the
Yeah.
basic thing about TypeScript. The simplest basic thing. And
Okay.
you know,
Where do you see the output?
this is the output.
Okay.
The same output that I wanted to
Okay.
print,
You have to give. Okay. So you need to give node. Okay.
right?
Node. Okay.
Once this gets completed, I'll
Um,
share the recording also with you.
yeah, because I'm trying like when I tried the TSC, I could see that my JS file is created, but when I'm using Node dot this one, I'm not able to
So, so
actually
check
get the
this. Do you
output.
have Node hyphen V? Does it gives you the Node version?
Let me check on that.
But the good part is that means you have installed,
Yeah,
you know,
it's Node minus V, right? Yeah, I have Node
great.
22.15.
So, you don't need to do
Yeah.
this npm install global TypeScript, because you are able to. If I check my TypeScript version, I get that also ts hyphen
Hmm.
v tsc hyphen v.
Let's
But
see.
this, you
Hmm.
don't need to run
Yeah.
because you are able to successfully able to do that. But your node command is, acha, do this in your Visual Studio. Make it to PowerShell or command prompt,
Hmm.
because this node does not work. Just
Okay.
select CMD and then run this file. This will work then. Change it to CMD.
I
PowerShell.
have mm, command line. Command line,
You
you say? I have GSH process ID.
Otherwise, what options do you see?
I have bash, GSH, JavaScript debug terminal.
Do you see
Mm,
CMD, PowerShell?
No.
You have bash, you have
Yeah, I have
no, no, no,
bash and
no, no, no,
gsh.
no, no. You need to have the command prompt or the PowerShell. Only there the node command will run. Bash,
Mm,
or else after this session you can just update your Visual Studio.
No, I got my Visual Studio just recently, like last week or before week. It was. Do I need to do this npm install?
npm install -g TypeScript, because
In
just to type this, if node is not there, this npm does npm working fine.
npm
-g
install
TypeScript.
minus
But
script.
you need to have to run the node command, you need to have a PowerShell or the command prompt, because your environment variable has given the path. Sorry?
Permission. It says permission denied for the above command.
No.
npm
Hmm.
install.
So why you are not getting this? Do you have Visual Studio 22 or 19? Do you have Visual Studio look like
Uh,
this?
yeah.
You
Mm,
select the settings. Do you have the PowerShell and command prompt?
Our settings. Okay, let me check. Mm, Settings, settings, and then environment as terminal.
Or maybe you have not installed the complete version of Visual Studio 2022.
Let me check what version I have. Version 1.85.2, 2024-18. I have the latest version. Let me.
Sure, sure. Now see,
Yeah,
before
maybe we can
moving
continue
forward,
and I'll try
I
to
think
figure
we
out
should
today. And
first
if it's
clear
not, maybe I
our
can share my screen and we can work on it
type
tomorrow.
these three ways in which
Yeah.
variables are declared in JavaScript, right? So I'm going to create one more file called, let's say variable declaration, or let's say, okay, let's call it as variable declaration, because we should know
Yeah.
when to use which one. So I call it as variable declaration.js JavaScript. Okay, so we'll start with the old school, the var one. The var, which came with the inception of JavaScript. See, JavaScript
Hmm.
came in the same year of, Java,
Hmm.
both. And actually, the name of, you know, the original name was LiveScript, right? Or now it is called as ACMAScript. It is called as ES. So currently ES6, ES7 has also come. Versions, I'm talking about versions,
Hmm.
right? These are the names. Now, what is var keyword? For example, So where you should know that where is used
Hmm.
where we want where we want this where we want the life of variable, you know, to be where we want the life of a variable from a memory management point of view to be, to be there,
Hmm.
for the where we want the life of variable to exist, for the entire script or at the function level. I tell you, or at the function level. So in basic word, where is used for either global scope or function scope. Now what do I mean by that, either
Hmm.
global scope or function scope? So let's say this is how basic function is designed. Print message. This is a basic function. Now let's say I created a var with the value called, uh, let's say phrase, and I give a value, let's say called as
Hmm.
var keyword value declaration. Right, let's say this I.
Hmm.
Now I again wanted to print it via console log, or I could print via via alert, prompt, or confirm. I'll tell
Hmm.
you about other functions also which are very much used, uh, you know in JavaScript. So this I did. See, now I can call this function in JavaScript or in TypeScript. I can call this function like this. And moreover, this is called as function
Hmm.
declaration. Functions can be declared in four ways in JavaScript. So that is why some programmers find it tough to understand
Hmm.
this language. This is function declaration. I'll tell you about function expression, arrow function, and callback function. I'll tell you about that. But the so if I run this right now, because this is a JS file, it
Hmm.
can execute with the help of node command. So if I say node and if I call it as variable declaration, it says
Hmm.
console, var keyword value declaration. It prints that value. But outside the
Hmm.
function, if I try to print this,
Hmm.
this phrase variable, right?
Hmm.
Now I will get a error that this phrase is not defined because this is defined inside function, right? Now if I run this, I get this error, phrase is not defined, reference error has come. So,
Hmm.
we use var keyword for function where we don't
Yeah.
want the variable to be accessible outside from a memory management point of view,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So this is incorrect. Otherwise, we should not go with var. Or else it is a global variable. For example, now this is
Yeah.
not inside function. This is a simple if condition in JavaScript, which is always true. I did not
Hmm.
write any Boolean expression here. I simply said var value is equal to, let's say, even a
Hmm.
Boolean value, let's say true. Now outside this console log, if I print, let's say value is, if I print like this, I print this by giving a small message also,
Hmm.
it will simply print me true, because now this is not inside function. This is having a global scope. I want this
Hmm.
function, this variable to be used in the entire script. I want the life of this variable to be there for the entire script, right? So when I run this, I clear my console
Hmm.
CLS and I run this, it says value is true.
Hmm.
Because as I told you, var is either function scope or global scope. When I want the life of a variable to be limited to function,
Hmm.
or I want the life of a variable to be limited to the entire script. This is how we decide,
Hmm.
right? But and don't this is not a function. Curly braces means a block,
Hmm.
right? This is a block. Var
Okay.
ignores all the block, but var cannot ignore function,
Yeah.
right? So
Hmm.
I told you, like, we have if in Java, we have if in Python. Similarly,
Hmm.
we have for loop also. I gave var I is equal to 0.
Yeah.
I should not be writing this because Now again, this is a global scope. I said where I 0, I less than 10, I plus
Hmm.
plus. And here I said that just print the value of I, but it is a global scope right now. So it will print me 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right? So, even
Hmm.
after the block, 0 to
Yeah.
9, even after that, because
Yeah.
value of I is 9, if I
Yeah.
print it after that, it will again print me 9. So 9 will come, sorry, it came two times because
Hmm.
10 it became, then the loop failed and then it gave me 10, right? So we saw function declaration, we saw block if condition basic for. I
Yeah.
told you in JavaScript,
Yeah.
TypeScript functions are declared in four ways. We just saw one. And we also learned that where the life is limited to either
Hmm.
function or it is a global scope. This is
Hmm.
one way.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to create a new file called variable declaration 2.
Hmm. Yeah.
Now in
Hmm.
this 2 file I'm going to delete everything and I'm going to talk about let
Hmm.
keyword. Now let is a
Hmm.
right and in TypeScript. Whatever you are
Okay.
saying for JavaScript, it means the same for TypeScript.
So let
Whatever
is
works in
also
JavaScript
a
works in
command
TypeScript. But whatever works in
declaration in
TypeScript does not
JavaScript.
work in JavaScript. But the playground, so we
Oh.
need to understand that TypeScript has
Hmm.
given some additional features.
Okay.
Right.
Hmm.
So then comes something called as,
Okay.
so earlier where says block does not matter to me. Right. Where
Yeah.
says block simple this curly bracket, you know flower bracket, figure bracket, where
Yeah.
says these does not
Hmm.
matter to me. Let says only block
Yeah.
matters to me.
Hmm.
Life of a let is
Yeah.
only limited to a block, or you can call it as let means block scope. Block finish, let finish.
Hmm.
I give you one example.
Okay.
Kind, yes. So let's say this is a block. Simple, no if, no nothing.
Okay. So
This
kind
does
of
not make any
local
sense, but yeah,
local
let's say I give a
variable.
block.
Okay.
So here I give a block, let's say as hello,
Hmm.
and I print
Hmm.
console log, message is,
Hmm.
and I give a message. But even outside, so this is inner block and this is outer block.
Yeah.
Now block over, let over, but here I wrote outer block. So it should give me the error. In where
Yeah.
keyword, this does not throw error, but in
Yeah.
let it will throw the error.
Hmm.
Right? So I will create call the file variable declaration
Yeah.
2. So first it wrote me inner
Yeah.
block message is hello, but when it comes to outer block, it says message is not defined, reference error.
Hmm.
Okay, this is what let is block. Now I tell you the power of
Hmm.
a block. Let another block started. Same
Yeah.
thing, but I said here the value of message is high, and this is inner block, right? And I print the second inner block here,
Hmm.
the second inner, second inner
Hmm.
block, and I
Yeah.
comment this line just to see the output. Now this will print the message as hello.
Hmm.
This will also print the message as hello,
Yeah.
but this inner block will print message as
Hmm.
hi, because block everything is, you
Yeah.
know everything is meaningful to block,
Yeah.
right? So I run this. It
Yeah.
says inner block hello,
Hmm.
inner hi, second inner block hello. because
Yeah.
blocks over, life of let over, block changes, life of let changes. So you know,
Mm.
over the period of time we'll understand the value of a block, and over the period of time we'll also understand the value of a function or a global scope,
Mm.
right? So this is let. Now there is a
Mm.
last way in which you can declare variable, which is called as const,
Mm.
right? Now const, again a ES feature. Actually let and const are TypeScript
Mm.
features, but you
Yeah.
know, they work with JavaScript also. Now what are constants? Const basically, const are simple values that can be defined only once. So one per scope, right? If you redefine const, if you try to redefine constant,
Mm.
it will trigger the error, or it will throw the error, right? For example, if I,
Mm.
whether it is global, function, block, whatever it is, if I give a const as
Mm.
value as let's say 5,
Yeah.
this is a value, and if I print, here you see I am not giving the typing. If I want, I could have said it's a number, but here
Mm.
if I give a value, it will give me value as 5, right?
Yeah.
Let me just run this. Clear node variable declaration 3, it gives me value is 5,
Mm.
but then I try to change this to 6. Okay, and if I try to run this again, same thing, if I try to run it, I'll get a type
Mm.
error. Earlier I was getting a reference error, that this is not defined,
Mm.
right? This is not defined. Now I'll get a type error, that you are trying to assign to a constant variable, right? Now when I run this, I get a type error,
Mm.
assignment to a constant variable. So this is like a final variable in TypeScript. Once declared,
Yeah.
it is not going to alter. Like, you have social security number, we have Aadhaar, we have
Mm.
PAN card, we have every retail banking insurance domain projects. We have some values which
Okay.
are not going to change. Okay. So these are the three ways in which variables are declared,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
Now you know, after that I want to
Okay.
talk about some basic
Yeah.
typing, data types and all that. Now you tell me, because see, there are a number of things that we have to cover. Shall I continue, or shall we put a break here and let's connect tomorrow so that you practice this? Or if
Mm.
you want, I can continue. Come again, come again. Okay, okay, okay. So,
Yeah. Maybe we can continue for some time.
yes. So
Yeah, we can
first I
continue.
want you to be comfortable with these concepts,
So
and
you will be giving
after
like
two,
any
three
exercises or
classes I'll
something
start giving you
to
exercises also.
work on, or how does it work
Okay.
usually?
So after that,
Hmm.
now coming back to TypeScript.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
now I'm going to talk about something called
Okay.
as
Yeah.
basic types in TypeScript,
Hmm.
right? So, kind of data types you can call it as,
Okay.
right? TypeScript has, some data types, right? Now, what are those data types? These are some data types, for example, Boolean. I'll tell you one by one.
Hmm.
Boolean means one bit of an
Yeah.
information, true or false, by default false. Here we have number for integer, float, long, all kind of, just a
Hmm.
number is there. Here we have string, single quote, double quote, triple quote.
Yeah.
Here we have array. square bracket, uh,
Okay.
which changes its size dynamically. Here we call it as, tuple, or some
Okay.
call it as tuple. We have that also. Immutable, which does not
Mm.
modify. Enum, predefined list of constant.
Okay.
Any value. Void, no value. There
Mm.
is something called as null and
Okay.
undefined, right? And there
Mm.
is something called as never,
Mm.
right? These are some data types in TypeScript. Type of a data. A
Mm.
simple one is, let's say, whether you have done your job or not.
Okay.
Simple boolean type. This is how we declare it, and
Mm.
we give a value false. Let's say
Okay.
I want to give the age of a particular person. I give it like this. Let's say I give a first name of a particular person. I give it like this.
Mm.
This is a first name
Mm.
of a particular person. Let's say I want to give some hobbies of a particular person.
Mm.
Array. Array has push, pop, and shift, unshift method, which I'll tell you about JavaScript. So reading, coding, technologies, and some movies, let's
Mm.
say, whatever, let's say this is an array. Now I showed you four: boolean, number, and string, and
Mm.
array. Okay. Now, so I can create, you
Okay.
know, uh, a message.
Yeah.
Let's say, let's create more. Uh, let's say some textual data. Again a string, and which says hello TypeScript. Again a script. So let's create few, and then
Mm.
any numerical data. Let's say decimal, stock value, retail price. Number.
Mm.
Let's say 3.14 pi value. Okay, boolean
Mm.
we have already seen. Now there are two more values, like null and undefined.
Mm.
Okay, so null. So what is null? Right, in other languages null gives the null pointer exceptions and all that. Here it does not give.
Mm.
Null simply means absence of a value, right? And there is something called as undefined. Undefined means a value has been declared,
Mm.
but a
Mm.
variable has been declared, right?
Mm.
Uh, but value is not yet assigned. So there is a difference between undefined and null, right? So undefined means in a very short, in some time we will declare a variable,
Mm.
right? So
Mm.
okay, like this. And so
Okay.
I told you void. Now void means, void means nothing. We don't return anything. So void is used with functions, right? For example,
Mm.
I create a function called as greet message, and I said I will give you some
Mm.
message which is of a string type, but
Okay.
this function does not return anything. So I use void, and I simply print console log, and I said is hello. Uh, I give the name, I concatenate the name, and I also
Mm.
concatenate exclamation mark in the end. But I don't use the return keyword. So
Mm.
there is nothing that I'm returning. So void, right? Okay.
Mm.
Now, so this is void.
Mm.
And
Mm.
as far as type is concerned, we have,
Yeah.
let's say I type that there is one interface with the name person.
mm,
So don't worry, I'm going to, use these concepts again and again till the time we don't understand them completely. So here I said there is an interface with the name
mm,
person which has two properties, you know, and I mentioned name
yeah,
property is a string type, age property is a
mm,
number type. Now I'm talking about the types, basic types. Na?
mm,
So here I said I create one person object which is should be of a person type, and here I
mm,
said the name of a person is ABC, and I said the age of a person is 30. Right? So this is an object now, because to identify a object is always
mm, mm,
enclosed within curly
yeah,
braces, figure or a flower bracket.
mm,
Right? So this is how we define the structure
mm,
of an object using interface type, basically. Right? So this is how we define the types.
mm,
Okay. So you can always say,
yeah,
understand my point, you can always say based on the data, you know
mm,
we can infer or we can figure out the data type. But in TypeScript, always remember, this is what static typing is. In TypeScript, explicit
mm,
explicit typing is recommended. Why? For the better maintainability of a code and for the clarity purposes also. Right?
mm,
So once we understand this, you know, I can use console log, I can print everything just to show you. But as of now, we are trying to understand the
mm,
types, basic types,
mm,
right? Now, see, don't get confused since this is our first session. So there is something called as union types.
yeah,
Basically, with the help of which you can give multiple
yeah,
possible types, right? And using vertical bar, using vertical
mm,
bar, we give various types.
okay,
We give all the possible types, that a variable can belong to.
mm,
Okay, for example, just to give an example, let's say I have some variable, or you can call it as, let's say, my variable. I'm just giving an example, my variable, and
okay,
here I simply said, type 1 first, I simply said type 2, and I simply said type 3. This is called as union of type, possible types available. One, several, or one or many data types. That mean many types, right? This is called as union. Union means multiple, right? Then there is something called as,
yeah,
alias name. Alias means AKA, also known
mm,
as another name.
yeah,
You know, you can give a convenient, easy name for complex types. Now, why alias name?
mm,
I'm saying there is one existing type, you want to give a new name. Again, for a better readability and maintainability of a code. I will show you using type. Remember this. In coming classes, I will use this
mm,
type keyword a lot. So
okay,
using type keyword, I'll simply write this kind of a code. There is one
mm, mm,
complex type to which
okay,
I want to give a easy name for the better maintainability, for my better ease basically. Here I wanted to say my
mm,
object, my data variable can belong to any of these possible types. Here I wanted to say
mm,
my variable could belong to,
mm,
any of these possible types. And here I am saying there is some complex type, and I just want to give a more a new name
Hmm.
to my type. For this, I use a type keyword, right? So, and then there is
Hmm.
one more, one call it as generics.
Okay.
So, in other
Hmm.
languages, generics, make sure
Yeah.
that only one type of data is taken into consideration at one point of time. But here, you could create a template in TypeScript. We can create a template that work with different data types without having a need to rewrite the code for each type. So I'm just saying we can write code
Hmm.
using generics. We can create code, or we can create a code template that can work with different data types without a need without we can work with different data types without having to rewrite
Hmm.
the code for each and every specific type, for each type. Now, how does it look like? Again, why? Because again, reusability, type safety, and flexibility. How does it look like? Again, now function will be there. And the moment you see
Hmm.
something like angular bracket, this is what, angular bracket, also known as diamond operator, right? T, generics. So whatever arguments you will send, you know, it will belong to T, and return type will be the same type. And I
Hmm.
might just return the argument just for the show purposes. Usually we don't do, what is the objective of just returning the argument. But here, using angular bracket,
Hmm.
angle bracket, or diamond operator, we specify the placeholder values. Any type of data can we can write a template for any type of data without having a need to rewrite the
Hmm.
code for each and every type. So this is a placeholder for every type variable. Again, this is also type we are talking about, and this is what static typing is. We are specifically mentioning the type of data. For example, how to use this?
Hmm.
I said there is a name. Okay, and I specifically mentioned using identity, I'm going to get the argument back. So using identity, I mentioned string, and I give a name of a person. For example, name of a person, let's say Amit Kumar. Let's say this is a name of a person,
Hmm.
right? So I will get a string type of data, you know, let's say ABC and XYZ. For example, this. A string type of data I get back as a name variable. Similarly, if I want a number back, I said number. Using identity, I specifically mentioned number, and I mentioned 45. Using identity, I got a number back, and using identity, I called a string back with a name, right? So using generics, we can write um, you know the a template which
Hmm.
will work with all types without having to rewrite for each and every individual type. We can see that when I want to give a easy name for a complex type, I'll use type keyword, which I'll show you. All these I'll show you in the coming classes. Sometimes there is a called as a union type. Whenever you see a pipe operator, we'll call it as a union type. An interface, right? It's one of the best thing, it's one of the major thing you will see in React. Angular is incomplete without creating interfaces for mentioning
Okay.
a particular type.
Yeah.
This is how coding happens in Angular and all that. Right. Now there is one more which is called as, you know, a little tough one, that is known as a
Okay.
type guard. Right. As the
Hmm.
name suggests, guard, basically, which saves. So we can narrow down the possible type of values at runtime. We can narrow down all the possible types of data, possible
Hmm.
options, or possible types at runtime, possible type of any of a value at runtime. How we narrow down using special expressions. You know, by writing some type of code. How does this type guard looks like? For
mm,
example, I create a function.
mm,
Function could be, let's say, process a value using type guard or process value. I said I will give you a value which is unknown right now, and it could be the return type could be string, or I give a union of values using pipe
mm,
operator. It could be number or a string. So I said type guard. There is a type of keyword which helps us know the data type. So using triple code, I mentioned string. If
mm,
the value which I have got is a string, then I will return you a value,
mm,
you know, I will return to uppercase. If it is a string, so I'm assuming type is a string. Else if type guard, I'm checked if a type of a value
mm.
is equal to integer or a sorry number. There is nothing called as
Okay.
integer. Right. So I'll just return value after multiplied by 5. Right. Other than that, I don't know. I'm simply saying, we will throw
Mm,
the error. I'll show you exception handling. We'll throw the error. So here we are
mm.
narrowing down the possible type of a variable at runtime to provide the TypeScript compiler what should be done.
Yeah.
This is also type safety. This is also avoiding errors by at
Mm,
runtime by assuring what will be
mm.
the value and how we are going to handle it. Right. So
Okay.
if I call possible value, possible option with small abc, I will get to
Mm,
see there is no console log. So I have to use console log and print, this
mm,
possible value with small abc. It will convert and the output will come in the capital ABC. If I have done any mistake here, the error will come.
mm,
So I will just write node. The name of a file
mm,
is basic ts basic types in ts, and there is one oh, I did not compile this file first. Basic types in ts. It will create a js for the same. Once it's create the js for the same, right, I have uh, it says uh, it says here line number 38 comma, here I put this comment here. This is the object, a person object I created, and I mentioned this is not how properties. I'll tell you this is what JSON is. These are called properties, key value pair combination. So I'll again run this. Right now, so here uh, uh, person, I did not save this file. So um, this is person, name is string, and semicolon, and age is a number. Oh, no, this is an interface. Name is a string, interface person, and age is a number, and let person is equal to person. Oh, here I did not put equal to sign, and I said name is ABC and age is number. This is an object. So in interface semicolon is required. Here comma was good enough. So this error will go away now. I'll clear my screen and I run this. Right now to, so then there is line number 59 which says let name is equal to identity within singular, within angle bracket. I gave this string, and within round bracket we gave this here it says let name is again, this semicolon won't come here. This is how. So now when I run this, clear the screen, and I convert this into JS, right? Again now, so oh, this was type 1, type 2 was a comment, so I have to comment this. Existing type was also a comment. I have to comment this also because there's nothing called existing type. We just learned declare name is equal to name was never declared, right? Okay, so now two errors are there. One is line number, it cannot redeclare. Acha, name was already declared, so I have to call it as, let's say, name 2. Cannot, because this is what static typing is. I cannot use const same name again, and name was redeclared here. So is it fine now? Uh, Name was also declared here. Line number. Acha, it's done now. So I'll just say
Mm.
basic types in JS. It prints ABC, uppercase, right? So and there is one more which is called as assertion, which just to give you the example, the last one, we will see all that in coming days, which is how to
Mm.
treat a particular value as a
Yeah.
specific type, right? What do I mean? So let's say here I simply say my value
Mm.
and I call it as hello. Then I call it as my number and I say the typing, static typing number, and using this is what type assertion is. Mentioning the number here, type assertion using angular bracket, and I said
Mm.
my value. Whenever you see this is type assertion. We are telling the compiler to treat this value as a number or a specific type, so that compiler does not treat this, on its own. Right. Similarly, there is one more. Let's say I have my other value or other number, which is also a number. But I said it value is my value,
Mm.
and you will see a keyword called as. And
Okay.
as basically, using using as keyword, we mention the type. This is type assertion, either using this or using as. We mentioning that please treat this my value also as a number and give me a number back. This is why static typing, this is why TypeScript is there, this is why TypeScript is
Mm.
is popular, this is why TypeScript is used, this is why TypeScript is,
Mm.
widespread in the entire ecosystem for the projects.
Mm.
This is one of the major
Okay.
reasons, giving the generics, giving the type guard thing, giving the assertion, giving the, you
Mm.
know, the interface, mentioning the interface. But remember this, I will use this in the coming classes, this type thing, because, I'll tell you the difference between type and interfaces and all that, right? Basically, the idea is very clear. Idea is mentioning the type of data, in the code, so that at runtime some unnecessary or
Mm.
some some random thing will not come.
Mm.
Okay, all right.
Mm.
You can practice this. If so, I've recorded this session. If the recording is perfectly fine now, I'll definitely upload it and I'll share I'll tell you in your log, after you log in, you'll get to see
Mm.
this also, right?
Yeah.
And so if you want, we can take a day off tomorrow so that you
Yeah.
practice all this, or if it is fine, we'll connect tomorrow same time. I'm okay with everything.
Okay. Yeah.
Vijita, just
Mm.
come again, I could not get you said. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Definitely, the second half is many to me. things to catch up for sure. Hmm.
Sure, 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 sure.
I think data types is the
Okay.
one like too
Okay,
many
then
things
let
to
I'll
catch
upload
up
this
for sure.
recording. Thank you.
So maybe we can take
And
a
if you
break
have any
tomorrow, and I'll
doubt,
try to go over
just I
the
tell you,
recording and
even if the course is
try to
over,
understand
once
each of
TypeScript
these
is
data
over,
types, and
you have
maybe
any
we can
doubt with
connect back
Angular, you can
day
anytime
after.
get me. You have any doubt with Node, you can anytime get back to me. Okay? Thank you,
Sounds good.
Rajat. Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Sure. Thank you. Mm, mm, Sure. Yeah, sure. Thank you.